The little girl stood at the edge of the dusty road with her shoes worn thin, and her courage stitched together by hunger and hope, her fingers clutching the hem of her mother's faded dress as wagons rolled past without slowing. Her voice was small, almost swallowed by the wind, yet it carried the weight of 9 lifetimes when she spoke. "No one wanted my mom," she said. "Not crying, not begging, just telling the truth the way children do when they've learned. The world doesn't soften its blows." Behind her stood her mother, a woman still young enough to dream, but already aged by grief. Her shoulders bent from carrying 9 children through winters that tried to kill them and summers that refused to show mercy. People saw the number first: 9 mouths, 9 futures, 9 reasons to turn away. They didn't see the hands that never rested, the eyes that stayed awake long after the children slept, or the heart that broke quietly so her children wouldn't hear it. This was the frontier, where kindness was scarce and survival was currency, and a widowed mother with 9 children was considered a burden no one could afford. They had walked for days to reach the ranching road where men came, looking for workers and sometimes, if fate allowed, for wives. Each passing rider offered the same judgment without words: too much trouble, too much responsibility, too much hunger waiting to happen. The girl had learned to recognize that look. She had learned to lower her eyes before it landed. But that morning something made her look up. The rancher approached slowly, not from horseback like the others, but on foot, his boots worn smooth by years of walking fence lines and broken promises. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried the quiet of a man who had buried more than he spoke of. His hat-shaded eyes that had seen droughts crack the earth and blizzards erase whole herds overnight. He stopped a few paces away, studying the family not like merchandise, to be measured, but like a puzzle he was willing to sit with. The mother stiffened instinctively, pulling her children closer, already preparing her polite refusal before he could give his. She had learned that hope could be dangerous. It rose fast and died slow. The children stood in a crooked line, some too young to understand why they were there. Others, old enough to feel shame press against their ribs like a second heart. The little girl stepped forward again, her chin lifted in defense of a truth she had carried too long. "No one wanted my mum with 9 kids, she repeated, louder this time, as if daring the world to argue. The rancher's breath caught. He knelt so his eyes met hers, and in that moment, something old and stubborn stirred in him, something that refused to let the past keep deciding the future. He didn't answer right away. Silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable, the kind that usually ended with disappointment. The mother opened her mouth to apologize, for the child, for their presence, for existing, but the rancher raised a hand gently, not in warning, but in understanding. He looked at the children one by one, counting not mouths, but lives. He saw a boy whose hands were already calloused from work, meant for grown men. A girl who rocked an invisible baby because she'd been a mother longer than a child. A toddler asleep, standing up from exhaustion, and behind them all, a woman whose spine bowed but never broke. He stood slowly, the decision settling into his bones like a truth he had been waiting to hear. "I want all of you," he said quietly, as if afraid the words might shatter if spoken too loud. The wind carried them anyway. The mother froze, certain she had misheard. The children blinked, not understanding the sentence, but feeling its weight shift something inside them. The little girl frowned, confused. "All of us?" she asked. The rancher nodded once. "All of you, not just the able-bodied, not just the youngest, not just the mother. Every single soul." The mother's knees nearly gave out. She had been offered shelter before, temporary, conditional, fragile, but never this. Never without bargaining, never without calculation. She searched his face for cruelty disguised as kindness, for desperation masked as charity. She found neither, only resolve. He told her his name was Thomas Hale, a rancher with more land than hands and more silence than company. His wife had died years earlier in childbirth, taking with her the laughter that once lived in his home. The baby followed soon after. Since then, the ranch had grown quieter, bigger, lonelier. Neighbors said he was a hard man, but they also said he was fair, and on the frontier, fairness was a rare mercy. He explained nothing more. He didn't need to. Sometimes life doesn't offer reasons, only doors. The mother took a breath that shook all the way down to her soul and nodded, afraid that if she spoke, the miracle might vanish. The journey to the ranch felt unreal. The children rode in the back of his wagon, clinging to one another as the road stretched toward a horizon they had never believed belonged to them. The mother sat beside Thomas, hands folded tightly in her lap, every mile a test of whether this kindness would turn cruel. He spoke little, but when he did, it was with respect, asking names, ages, small things that mattered. The little girl watched him closely, her sharp eyes missing nothing. She had learned early that promises often broke, and she was determined to catch the crack before it widened. When the ranch finally appeared, wide and weathered, fences leaning but standing, the children gasped. It wasn't grand, but it was solid. Smoke curled from the chimney. The door opened not to emptiness, but to possibility. That first night the mother didn't sleep. She listened to her children breathe, counting them the way she always did, 1, 2, 3, 9. For the first time in years, the count didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a blessing someone else had chosen too. Thomas slept in the far room, leaving space without being asked. In the days that followed, the ranch settled into a new rhythm. The older children learned chores suited to their strength. The younger ones learned what it felt like to laugh without fear. The mother worked alongside them, refusing to be idle, determined to earn every kindness offered. Thomas never reminded her she owed him anything. He treated the children like seedlings, not debts, patient, careful, aware that growth takes time. Neighbors came by, curious and skeptical. Whispers followed. 9 kids. He's lost his mind. Thomas didn't correct them. He was too busy building something they couldn't see yet. The little girl still watched. She noticed how Thomas fixed broken toys without being asked, how he left extra blankets by the children's beds before winter settled in, how he listened more than he spoke. One evening, as the sun bled gold across the fields, she found him repairing a fence. She stood quietly until he noticed her. "You really meant it, didn't you?" she asked. "About wanting all of us." He wiped sweat from his brow and met her gaze. "I don't say things I don't mean," he replied. She nodded, satisfied, and for the first time since her father died, she felt something loosen inside her chest. Hope, careful and small but alive. This was only the beginning. Hard days would come, judgment would follow. Love would be tested in ways none of them could imagine yet. But on that ranch, under a sky that had once felt endless and empty, a broken family and a silent man had chosen each other. And sometimes that choice is stronger than blood. If this story touched your heart so far, stay with us, because what happens next will prove that the bravest families are often the ones the world almost threw away. And if you believe in stories of second chances, courage and unlikely love, subscribe to Cowboy Legends Story, where forgotten souls find their place in legend.